This story contains real events that may be distressing. Viewer discretion is advised. Most people imagine the same thing when they think about where a killer might hide a body: a quiet stretch of woodland, a shallow grave somewhere far from the road, maybe a remote field where no one is likely to pass by. And for decades, that's exactly where investigators have looked. But some killers think differently. Instead of forests or empty countryside, they choose places far stranger, places hidden inside ordinary buildings, inside walls, or even somewhere people walk past every single day. In some cases, the hiding place was so unusual that the truth stayed hidden for years. Today, we're looking at some of the strangest places killers have ever tried to hide their victims, and how those secrets were eventually discovered. The killer exposed by a blocked drain, Dennis Nilsen. Our first case takes us to North London in the early 1980s. The apartment building at Cranley Gardens looked completely ordinary from the outside. Just another quiet street, another row of flats, the kind of place where nothing unusual ever seemed to happen. But in February 1983, residents started complaining about a strange problem. The drains in the building kept getting blocked. At first, it seemed like a routine plumbing issue, but when plumbers began investigating the pipes, they discovered something that immediately raised alarm. Inside the drainage system were fragments of human remains. Police quickly traced the blockage to a top-floor flat belonging to a civil servant named Dennis Nilsen. When investigators entered the apartment, they uncovered a disturbing truth. Nilsen had been murdering young men in his flat for several years. To dispose of evidence, he attempted to destroy and flush parts of the remains through the building's plumbing system. But the pipes of the Victorian-era building weren't designed for that. Eventually, the system clogged, and the discovery inside the drains led investigators straight to his door. The investigation revealed that Nilsen had killed at least 12 of the victims between 1978 and 1983, making him one of Britain's most infamous serial killers. What ultimately exposed the crimes wasn't a witness or even a missing persons report. It was simply a blocked drain, the child hidden inside concrete. Kenyatta Odom, one of the most shocking documented discoveries of a body hidden in concrete, happened in the United States and remained unsolved for decades. In 1988, the skeletal remains of a young girl were found inside a television cabinet filled with concrete in a wooded area in Waycross. For years, investigators and police referred to her as Baby Jane Doe, an unidentified victim recovered from a grim concealment. Decades later, advances in forensic science and DNA identification finally revealed her identity as Kenyatta Odom, a 5-year-old killed by people she knew. Authorities later charged her mother and her mother's then-boyfriend with murder and concealing the body. The body found in the hotel water tank, Elisa Lam. In 2013, guests staying at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles began making complaints to hotel staff. The water pressure in the building was strange. Some guests said the water coming from the taps had an unusual taste. Others noticed the water in their rooms sometimes appeared darker than normal. At first, staff believed it was simply a maintenance issue. But when a hotel employee went up to the roof to inspect the building's water tanks, they made a discovery that would quickly make headlines around the world. Inside one of the tanks was the body of Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old traveler from Canada who had been reported missing weeks earlier. The discovery shocked both investigators and the public, not only because of the location, but because of how difficult it was to access the tanks in the first place. The case gained international attention after surveillance footage from the hotel elevator, showing Lam behaving strangely shortly before she disappeared, spread widely online. Investigators ultimately ruled her death an accident, but the unusual location of the discovery turned the case into one of the most widely discussed mysteries of the decade. And it showed just how unexpected the location of a hidden body can sometimes be, even somewhere as ordinary as a hotel's water supply. The concrete discovery by the river, Navia Buchanan. Our next case brings us to Monroe, Michigan, in the spring of 2009. 5-year-old Neve Buchanan was playing outside her apartment complex on May 24, 2009, when she disappeared without a trace. For more than a week, family, friends, volunteers, and law enforcement conducted an intensive search for the missing child. Then on June 4th, two men fishing along the River Raisin near Monroe made a chilling discovery. What appeared at first to be an ordinary piece of concrete near the riverbank turned out to be something far more tragic. Inside was the body of Navae, encased in the cement and buried in a shallow grave. Despite extensive investigations and thousands of leads over the years, no one has ever been charged in connection with her killing, and the case remains unsolved. This case stands as one of the most unsettling examples of a victim hidden in an unexpected place. A reminder that sometimes even the most unlikely concealments are discovered, and that justice can remain a long way off. If you're enjoying the video so far, why not hit subscribe? It helps the channel grow and means you won't miss the next true crime story when it's uploaded. The suitcases left in the woods, Jessica Lewis and Austin Wenner. In August 2022, police in Seattle received a strange call. Someone had been walking through a wooded area when they noticed two suitcases sitting near a popular trail. At first, it didn't seem unusual. People sometimes dump unwanted items in secluded areas. But when the suitcases were opened, the discovery immediately turned into a homicide investigation. Inside were human remains. Investigators soon identified the victims as Jessica Lewis and Austin Wenner. The trail of evidence eventually led police to Brian Stephen Smith, who was already facing charges in another murder case. Authorities believe the victims were killed in his apartment before their remains were placed in suitcases and abandoned in the wooded area. What made the case especially disturbing was how ordinary the objects appeared. Just two pieces of luggage left near a walking trail, something most people would simply walk past without thinking twice. The barrel that hid a secret for 30 years, Reina Marroquin. Sometimes a body can remain hidden for decades before anyone realizes the truth. In 1984, a woman named Reina Marroquin disappeared from New York City. For years, no one knew what had happened to her. Then in 1999, a homeowner in Jericho was cleaning out his basement when he noticed something unusual. A large metal barrel that had been sitting in the house for decades. Curious, he opened it. Inside were human remains preserved inside the container. The barrel had been left there by the home's previous owner, Howard Elkins, who had killed Marroquin years earlier. He believed the barrel would hide the crime forever. But after the house changed owners and time passed, the secret eventually resurfaced, more than 30 years later. Throughout history, killers have tried to hide their crimes in places they believed no one would ever look. Inside pipes, sealed in concrete, hidden in suitcases, or left in places people pass every day. But as these cases show, the truth has a way of resurfacing. Sometimes it's a strange smell, a renovation project, or a simple maintenance check that uncovers something no one expected to find. What was meant to stay hidden eventually comes to light. Thanks for watching.